Oh, why do I have to sneeze right as I start? Okay. Nope. Wait. Nah. Oh, okay. We're good. Okay, anyways. High-level play in D&D is a divisive topic that's been talked about to death. Over the course of the years since 5e has been introduced, the idea of high-level play has been incredibly controversial. Now, there's a few different reasons for that, but the most simple reason is the fact that 5e is really not designed to provide support for high-level play. High-level characters are simply too powerful to challenge easily. You either have to introduce something which is just unfair for them to deal with, or you have to severely nerf the players, and either way, it doesn't feel good. It's hard to give a surprising challenge to high-level characters. And this is important to do because if you don't provide a good challenge, many of the times it feels like all of the adventures are not worth going on. It feels like you're robbing the players of actually overcoming something.
Anyone else feel like we overtrained for this? Tell me about it! No, shut up!
A challenge which is overcome provides satisfaction. A challenge which didn't provide any sort of conflict is just a story that didn't have very much of an actual ending. So you have to be very careful when you run a high-level campaign. Characters from levels 17 to 20 can do things that are literally impossible, and I mean that very literally. A wish spell can do basically anything to ruin a campaign, and many of the other feats are right there with it. A level 20 druid can absolutely wreck things, especially if they're a moon druid, because the things that they can do with the level 20 ability is actually absurd. So, why am I talking about this? Well, see, there is actually something you can do which presents a challenge to high-level players, but let me make it very clear, it's not for every group. I think it is something that the books that 5e produced do not actually provide, but is something that is very viable to actually provide a challenge, and that is the concept of morality. See, when you become that powerful, that strong, that incredible, what is there in front of you except for the responsibility of having such incredible power? See, there's a common phrase that is known amongst many nerds. In fact, I'm pretty sure it goes outside of nerds at this point. It's just a pop culture phrase at this point. And that is the mantra of Spider-Man himself, the main theme that goes across all of his stories. With great power comes great responsibility.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Are you afraid that I'm gonna turn into some kind of criminal?
You have to understand that a high-level character in D&D 5e is basically a god.
Oh, it's fine.
It's fine.
We're gods.
Are we?
It's fine.
Demi.
She says as she dies on the rocks.
Demi Moore.
Did you say we're
That would
gods?
be-
Why would you even tempt that shit
Your
right
face.
now?
Or a demigod at the very least. They are so powerful that nothing on the mortal plane is really going to challenge them. The ability to wish things, the ability to do anything that most level 20 characters can do is so powerful that at that point it becomes less of if they can overcome a challenge, but more so of if they should. See, many times in all of reality, the concept of gods have been challenged. The idea that a creator is so powerful, they are either perfect or very flawed, and either way, it is a moral conundrum. If a god is perfect, then you have to question, why did they make an imperfect world? And so if your characters are perfect gods, well then you have to ask yourself the question, why have they not solved all problems within the world? At which point you probably have to understand that they're just imperfect gods, which means they have incredible power where they could do anything they want, but should they? What should they intervene with and what should they not? Yes, they have the ability to overturn basically any political entry in the entire world, but is doing so the right thing to do? And is standing by and doing nothing the wrong thing to do? These are interesting moral questions, and I honestly think that the lack of support that 5e provides for high-level play, this is the challenge that you provide. And this is why I say also that it's not for every group, because for every group to have to challenge these different questions isn't really what a lot of people are trying to play the game for. But I do think it's very interesting. But this then leads to the question. If you're wanting to play a high-level campaign with players who don't want to deal with those types of questions, what do you do? Well, honestly, if you're playing with players who don't want to deal with those types of stories, I don't think a high-level campaign was there for you in the first place. Let's be honest, those players are playing because they want to play the wargaming aspect more than likely, or a fun and happy aspect. Either way, high level play is honestly going to get in the way. If you're playing with players who really just want to do combat, high level play isn't well supported, and that combat is going to be really dull or really unfair. And if you're playing with a party which just wants to have a fun, happy adventure, high level play is honestly, I mean, it is an option, don't get me wrong, but I also think it's going to lead to these questions regardless. But ultimately, it's up to your group, and let me make that clear. I'm not telling you how to play. But I do think for the parties that really want to challenge the moral questions, that really want to challenge what they're doing in the world, that really want to have to come to concepts with the different challenges that are in the world and the high-level issues, this is where high-level play truly shines. And I kind of love that. I think it is an incidental and accidental problem for 5e, but I think it is extremely fun to consider. The other question you have to ask yourself when considering all this is there another high-level group in the world, or are there other high-level characters? See, I'm talking as if high-level characters are these impossibly powerful individuals, which they are, but let's be honest, that high of power only means something if they're the only ones to have it. If there are other ones in the world that also have this kind of power, well, then that presents a different kind of challenge. And that's a good thing. That's very fun to consider. It helps build the world out for everybody. It helps decide what you want to do. And it helps really inspire the players to decide where their place is in the world. But you have to ask that question. Otherwise, it's going to become a little difficult to determine. But let's say you've done all this. You've considered if your party wants to actually know the different moral problems that come with their power. You've considered if there are other people in the world that have those types of powers. What do you do at that point? What do you do if you're the player? How do you play this demigod walking amongst the earth? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. The first thing I would do is make sure that your dungeon master has actually incorporated this theme into the campaign itself. If they haven't, then this is going to be an interesting concept, because you either have a DM who doesn't want you to feel that powerful, or you have a DM who has no clue how to handle that kind of power. Or a third DM who's just kind of playing loosey-goosey and wants to play off what you guys do. But more importantly, that type of responsibility does need to be incorporated into the themes of the campaign. But once you've determined that, how do you play that? Well, you have to consider what type of character you're playing, and honestly, what class you're playing. If you're a druid with that kind of power, you basically have control over the ecosystem of the entire world that you're in. So what are you doing? Are you helping all of those who don't have food grow their food? Are you doing nothing because nature is lawless and therefore should not be controlled? Do you have to consider the fact that nature is supposed to be lawless, but you have that power and maybe you shouldn't? Or let's say you're a fighter. You have worked this hard your entire life to be the pinnacle of what anybody physically could, the most powerful warrior in the world. Do you use that to enforce peace? Do you use that to simply negate war? I mean, what do you do with that kind of power? It goes across this with every single class. If you're a bard, what are you doing with that type of ability to communicate? If you're a warlock, what are you doing with that much power given to you by another deity that's somewhere out there, or an extraplanar entity? See, there's so many interesting things that you have to consider when you have that much power. And then you consider, what type of character are you? Are you evil? Are you good? Are you neutral? And these are the interesting concepts, at which point I would recommend to a DM to expand what a session looks like. No longer do you need to confine your group to the day-to-day, hour-by-hour, action-by-action. At this point, they're so powerful, you should probably run sessions across months or years. Give the party time to expand, to figure out what they want to do. Don't confine them to simple moments, because, let's be honest, they could probably escape those things by using spells like Teleport or Tree Stride. Not that I have any kind of experience with that kind of stuff, and my players constantly teleporting around the world. You know who you are. Point is, at this point, the players are probably beyond that kind of stuff. So you should expand things to allowing them to influence entire kingdoms and countries, to be able to have that sort of influence, because that's where that kind of influence goes. And to be honest, I think the 5e designers did at least expect that, because they say in the player's handbook and the DMG that at level 20s, that's kind of the type of influence you're going to have at that point. Matthew Colville honestly has some really incredible videos that discuss high-level play and moving beyond the mundane, allowing your players to influence the geopolitical instances of the world. And now that campaign is not for everybody, and I understand that. But I do believe that's where most of the challenges for level 20 characters are going to come from. Not from different combat encounters, though please do still have combat encounters. I mean, if I got that high level and didn't get to run some combat encounters, I'd be a little bit salty. But still explore the other themes. Those are the challenges that are going to be there for the players that are most interesting. And honestly, I think this leads into another lesson that we should learn. Our campaigns should have challenges that match the influence of the characters. And so whether you're level 1, 5, 10, 15, or 20, knowing how you're going to handle that and campaigning your entire story around that concept is probably one of the best things you can do and makes things a lot more interesting. So go out into the world and make it your own, you beautiful bastards. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I hate saying this kind of stuff, but it's the YouTube thing, and it honestly really helps the channel, and it really helps me make more of the videos that I love. So go out into the world and make it your own. And I keep messing up my outro, so have a good day. Oh, I almost knocked over my light.